You know that feeling at the start of a new project? All that energy, but also all that chaos. So many people, so many questions. What if you could cut through most of that confusion right from day one? Well, today we're going to talk about the one document that acts as your master plan for all the people involved.
Okay, picture this. You're kicking off a brand new project. The excitement is there, for sure, but so are the questions, right? Who has the final say? Who needs to know what's going on? And maybe most importantly, who's actually going to do all the work? It can feel like a total scramble before you've even started.
But what if I told you there's a way to answer all those questions before they even turn into problems? There is. It's a simple tool called a stakeholder register, and it's specifically designed to bring some much-needed clarity to all that chaos.
All right, so first things first. Before we can start organizing people, we've got to figure out who we're even talking about. Who exactly are these stakeholders?
Here's a great way to think about it. Your project is like a movie production. A stakeholder, then, is basically anyone who's part of your cast and crew. They are the key players, the people whose decisions and support are absolutely vital to making sure you have a blockbuster hit.
And just like in a movie, your cast isn't made up of just one type of person. You've got your core team doing the daily work, the sponsors who are funding the whole thing, department directors, and of course, your subject matter experts. We usually call them SMEs. You even have the customers and the operations folks who will actually use whatever it is you're building. Okay, so we know who our stakeholders are now. But how do you keep track of everybody? That's where the stakeholder register comes into play.
To stick with our movie analogy, the stakeholder register is basically your master call sheet. It's one single document, a central source of truth that lists every key player and the crucial info you need to know about them. No more guessing.
And look, this doesn't have to be some super complicated spreadsheet. At its heart, it can be really simple. All you need to start is the stakeholder's name, where they work, and what their role on this project is. Seriously, this simple foundation is where all that amazing clarity begins.
So I can hear you asking, is this really worth the effort? Why bother creating this whole document? Well, let me tell you, the payoff is huge. The advantages are massive. Right from the get-go, everyone knows exactly what their role is, which means they can plan their time and commitment. But for you, the project manager, it does something even more important. It helps you spot any gaps in support or skills super early, when you can still do something about it.
At the end of the day, a stakeholder register is really a communication tool. We all know that project success lives or dies by how well people communicate. This register is your roadmap for who needs to talk to whom and about what.
Now, if you want to take your register from just helpful to incredibly powerful, you need to add another layer. A layer that defines exactly what each person is responsible for. And that, my friends, is where the RACI matrix comes in. RACI. This little acronym is an absolute game changer. It's the key to unlocking total clarity on who does what in your project. It stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. Let's break this down real quick. Responsible. That's the person or people actually doing the work. Think of a writer creating a blog post. Accountable. This is the single person who owns the final decision. The buck stops with them, like the marketing manager who has to approve the post. And here's the golden rule. You should only ever have one A per task. Consulted are your experts, the people you get input from, maybe the legal team. And finally, informed are the folks you just need to keep in the loop, like the head of sales. Defining these roles is, and I mean this, a total game changer.
So now that you've got the tools, let me give you a few pro tips to make sure your register is as effective as it can possibly be.
First off, don't feel like you need to list every single person by name. For instance, if you're working with a team of, say, 7 marketing specialists, you can just group them. Just pick one person to be the main liaison for the whole team. It keeps things so much cleaner.
Okay, this next one is so important. A stakeholder register is not a set it and forget it kind of thing. It's a living, breathing document. Projects change, people move around, roles shift. You have to keep it updated. And please, use version control so everyone's always looking at the latest version.
And my last tip is to remember the goal here. The point is clarity, not to create a company phone book. Your register should really focus on the key decision makers and planners. If someone isn't actively shaping the project's direction, they probably don't need to be on the list.
So let's do a quick recap. What are the big takeaways? First, stakeholders are the vital players in your project's success. Second, the stakeholder register is your master list of who they are and what they do. Third, the RACI matrix brings incredible clarity by defining exactly who is responsible for what.
And finally, don't forget, your register is a dynamic tool that has to be kept up to date.
And there you have it. You now know exactly how to identify and organize the essential casts for your next big project. So the only question left is your call sheet ready?